Welcome back, Peter. It all goes wrong when we take a week off.
That's the thing. We shouldn't take a week off. Obviously, the tech, the tech is telling us don't take a week off.
Yep, clearly. So this week we're going to talk about some Appexchange apps that we know and love and think are useful. I had fun playing with a particular Appexchange app over the weekend. That's a nice free one that's very powerful and useful, and it kind of dawned on me that there's a few apps out there that just you should consider using in every implementation. In a number of years, you will have found the same thing, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it's interesting when we're talking about this, and I mean, look, there's a whole bunch of apps we could go to. There's a whole bunch of paid apps and great functionality out there, but I particularly focused on things around Lightning components,
Yep.
and free apps as well. And funny, the ones I pulled out, which I think are a go-to for really any org. Most of them are from Salesforce Labs, except for one,
Yep.
which is a really cool one, which we'll get to at the end. But yeah, I think the other thing I would always say, I always do say, Appexchange. The stuff that's on there keeps getting updated so often. There is so much information there. There are so many apps out there. There's so many old apps out there as well.
Yeah.
One of the things that I look for, that I particularly look for is, what's the latest release date on an app?
Yep.
What's the reviews? What are people saying about it? Before I go off and install it somewhere, you don't want to waste time on something that's only got one review or doesn't have any reviews at all and hasn't been updated since 2013 or something like that. So yeah, it's and that's again where the community plays in this stuff, because everybody will provide feedback on the apps along the way as well. So yeah.
Yeah, and absolutely. Just a side story to kick things off. I actually published my first Appexchange app in 2009, and it was called New Zealand Postcode Lookup. And I actually scraped from the New Zealand Post Service website where you could enter an address and so they didn't have APIs in those days. So I created this little app that would basically mimic sending some address data across to this browser and get the results back. And I'd forgotten all about it. And then for some reason, I have no idea why, I started getting emails recently from the Appexchange team saying, your app is about to be delisted. And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure I took that down about 7 years ago myself. So maybe that's how a lot of these old apps end up staying longer than we used to. And because there is a review cycle, and you need to pass the security check on a regular basis. So
Yep.
there's probably some stuff on there that needs cleaning out, and maybe a process improvement they need to make.
Yeah, it's a good point too about the security review and all that type of stuff. So you've got that comfort that it's gone through a team at Salesforce that they've tested it. They've tested against their stack, and it's not going to break anything when you install. There is it's very similar, I suppose, to the approach to the whole App Store that Apple's got. Not sure whether it's the same thing with Google, but I feel more comfortable knowing that's been reviewed. It works, and in essence, it works. And you basically, most of this stuff, it's push button and install. There's no real, the ones I've chosen anyway, there's no real config around stuff either. So yeah.
Cool. Shall we jump into it? And what's the first app that you've come up with?
Well, funny you mentioned about New Zealand postcodes, because the first one I picked was an address picker autocomplete for Flow. That's what it's called, and we'll share this stuff out in the blog afterwards. So don't worry about missing what it is. But this app uses the Google Places API, and so it autocompletes as you typing in an address, and will populate into Salesforce from there. It's free. It's from Salesforce Labs. Clean data in your org. Address data is one of the key things, and how many times have we seen where that information can be so wrong and all that type of stuff. So using this is a great way to making sure that you're going to have your clean address data on there, and real time data too. Because I mean, the Google API, well, Places API is obviously up to date all the time as well. So, all
And
you
so
have to
when
be
you say
is
that works with Flow, how do you use this component?
so you can. I'm reading from the screen. I'm going to cheat. So you add it to your screen in a Lightning component, and then you can use the output attributes however you like. So that's about as much as I know at this point in time. I've got to say. So
And there's no licensing or anything you need to be signed up for on the Google side to take advantage of that, from what you can see.
not that I can see. I think it's you need your own Google Places API key,
Right.
which I think is a free key, isn't it, from Google?
Yeah, I think as long as you've got a Gmail or a Google Apps account, you can sign
Yeah.
up and get one of those keys.
So, and that's the only other thing you need. So, it's pretty much, click the Get It Now button, install, and off you go. So,
And the advantage of being a Google thing would be, I assume the addresses are global. They're going to have really good data for pretty much every country in the world.
oh, it's really interesting, and I just noticed that the first screenshot they got on here of the demo is actually well, it's using the Salesforce office in Sydney, Australia.
Right.
So it is, yes, very much global.
Global and local.
Yes.
That's very cool. And as you say, that's getting that address data accurate and correct is such a key thing to ensure the kind of long-term success of your implementation in a way. Like, I feel like I've come across CRM implementations over the years, be it any system, Salesforce or otherwise, and it's 2 to 3 years old, and people say, oh, we don't use it because this data is out of date. We know, and as soon as people don't trust the data, their adoption of the system goes down. So it's one of the fresh, clean, up-to-date data is one of the the key ways that you can keep people engaged and adopting and using the system. Because if it becomes the go-to place, well, I know if I need an updated address, I go into Salesforce to get it. People will keep coming back, and you'll get the usage and adoption that you want.
And look, there's other apps out there that do very similar stuff, and they're a paid app, which might be more suitable, I will say, than what this is. But if you don't have that budget, or if you want to try this in the first place to see how it's going to work, to me it's one of those ones you've got to have in your org. So,
yep, excellent. Well, should we move on to number 2 in your list?
Number 2, I think we blogged something similar recently on this, but org limits is another one. So it's something that we all want to make sure that we're sticking inside our limits. We're making sure that we know what our limits are across everything. And this app actually gives us that in one screenshot, basically. Again, simple one to install. It shows you what the limits are. It shows you on a progress bar, basically on where you are progressing with those limits, and it covers every single limit in your org. So it's a must-have. Whether your org's a brand new one or you've had it for a while, you just need to be monitoring these things and making sure everything's ticking along fine. So,
and is that to sort of give you warnings as you get close to these limits, or are you left to interpret things yourself? What does the app sort of? I guess some of those limits can be complicated to understand, and you need a little bit of hand-holding and guidance to kind of understand, here's where you're at, here's the limit you're getting close to, and here are some potential mitigation steps to actually resolve the issue.
Yeah, so I won't give you the mitigation steps, I will say. But it's just a monitoring tool at the end of the day. So it's, your data storage is this is how much you've used, this is the percentage, and it's showing a progress bar, as an example. So it's doing that. To me, it gives you the one place you can go and say, okay, well, how am I tracking, type of thing. The mitigations you need to do around that, I think you need to look at other tools and processes around that. So it just gives you that snapshot.
Yeah, or even support offerings like what we do at the Academy. That'd be a great place to ask some questions around what does this limit mean and how can I solve for it.
I missed that opportunity to actually say that.
So yeah, so that's a good one, I guess, for admins. The address tool is going to help all users of the system, but I guess there's these different types of apps that serve different users. Some are really going to help admins maintain the org, like that one. Others are going to create an end user experience that helps with your adoption and the likes.
I'd argue that the address one would also help admins because clean data.
True.
They're always the ones that end up having to clean data up. So
true. Yeah, and the number of times you end up cleaning data by exporting it, fixing it in a spreadsheet, and importing it back in. If you can just get it clean from day one and keep it clean, makes life easier.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. What's number 3?
Number 3 is Flow Email Composer. So this is a Lightning component. And again, I'm going to read straight from the screen here, so I've got the script right. It's a Lightning component that provides the ability to select email templates and prepare a draft version of the email with merge field values. They can also compose the email on the go without selecting the email template. So I think, Lightning, email templates, all that type of stuff work really great, but this gives you a different flavor to that and gives you the ability to actually see that draft version in the first place, which you can't see inside Salesforce. Give you everything in one place, and it's bolted into Flow, as I said. So it's a bit of a Flow flavor to what I've picked out.
So would that be, just trying to imagine how I would use that? I could be on a particular record, launch a screen flow, and this component can be one of the steps in a screen flow.
Yeah, yep, that's exactly it. So it's just a case of building it into your flow, so it's in there. It is more user friendly than the standard email template type of thing. The other good thing is you can add attachments and or upload attachments in it as well, so you're not restricted on that side of things too. So.
Okay, so that could be good for something where you've got very much a process you're following, which is obviously a perfect use case for Flow, but a particular event, a case has been raised for a particular scenario that you need to follow a sequence of steps that can be codified into a flow, and then sending the email is one of the steps as part of this.
Yep. That's exactly what I would suggest. But you did.
Sounds very useful.
Yeah. Well, again, it's one of these ones that's going to get used quite a lot. If you're not sending emails out from Salesforce, you've got to be questioning why. Yep. So yeah.
Excellent. So is another Flow one coming up, or you got something different?
No, this one's a different flavor. This one is fast opportunity products. So adding products to opportunities can be a bit cumbersome. This one does it in a way that you can add the opportunity product from the opportunity page itself without having to go on to pick the products, and it will just add them on. So it's just a component that sits on the opportunity page. Simple and quite easy to use, and there's nothing more I can say on that other than it just makes that whole adding products to opportunities that much easier than what normally would be.
Yeah, so I've always found that quite a clicky process.
Yeah,
as you're working with a standard related list, so even just reordering things becomes, you want it to just be drag and drop kind of thing, but you have to go in and edit the order field and how that's going to look, and that just the whole wizard around finding the products you want to add. It is a little bit cumbersome. So yeah, if you can kind of do that all in line in a single component, that's going to make entering opportunities so much faster.
Yeah, and it does. And I've actually used this one, so there's not much else to say on it other than it's a very simple component and does exactly what it says it's going to do. You can add opportunity products fast. So truth is in
sometimes simple is good, and
yeah,
and just works as on the tin. That's all you ask for.
It's we should see more of that. So
Maybe I'll jump in now and talk about one that I found the other day, which I've found very useful. It's another Salesforce Labs component. And I was pleased when I found this to see that the Salesforce Labs team are still active and still producing a lot of really cool stuff. And I see great value in that, because you will still have a lot of customers on Classic, and anything that makes the migration to Lightning easier with all of these components they're pushing out there is ultimately going to help Salesforce as a whole. So I'm sure that's part of their motivation. So I found this component called CMTD Enhanced Related List. I'm not sure why they put the acronym in the title.
About simple titles?
No, it's because it's driven by custom metadata records.
Right.
So what you do is you add this component to any page that you want to display a related list, and the standard kind of properties that pop up to configure the component let you do a couple of just super simple things, but super useful right off the bat. Is so you could configure a filter for your related list. So just show me the cases that are still open for this account. Simple, super useful kind of use case to actually present relevant data when you're looking at a particular record. Then the second one is configuring the sort order, and just so then you're getting a related list that kind of looks and shows the right data that you want. The next level, and this probably gets a little bit complicated, is you have to jump into managing custom metadata records. And what you end up doing is you create a record for each column that you want to display. And if for just standard columns, that's sort of straightforward. But there are some sort of advanced things you can do. So let's say you've got a checkbox field. You can actually override the way that displays in the related list, so that it displays as, say, a badge, and you can configure the color that badge displays as. So now, for example, you could have your escalated cases showing with a bright colorful badge, for example, so that those kind of really stand out and get people's attention. There is some functionality that I haven't played with yet, but you could even go as far as having your own HTML that displays instead. So you could get quite custom and specific around how you display a column in a related list. So that's all quite good. Then you can actually duplicate all of this and have, for example, put the component on a page twice. So maybe you have the top one is configured to show open cases, and maybe the columns that you display. So if you think about related lists, you configure them, the standard ones, you configure on the page layout editor. There's only one place to set the columns, and that's kind of what's going to show up everywhere you use that related list component. So in this one, you could have stacked on top of each other two of these components, but on each one, the filters can be different, the columns displayed can be different, and so the whole look and feel can be different, even though they're displaying the same data, all from the same table object. So that's quite powerful. And then the next bit, which I thought, okay, this is really cool, is through the relationships of the data you're looking at, you could display a related list from a completely different object. So let's say we're looking at cases, for example, and this might be a little bit of a contrived example, but you're looking at cases, you're looking at a single case record, that case has a parent account, and that parent account has a related list of contacts, for example. So you can define your enhanced related list on the case to say, well, actually, I want to show a list of contacts where the contact account ID is equal to the case account ID. So suddenly you're pulling in a list of records from a third object traversing through the parent account and displaying it on a case. So you can get a little bit clever with the way that you traverse objects to pull a list of data together. And I thought that was quite powerful, because the way that you kind of input the object and the fields into the basic configuration is, you can see it's building up a query. So if you can think of a way to, okay, if I'm on this object and I wanted to query an object over here, how would I go about that? As long as that's not too complicated, you can actually replicate that query in this component and pull in data from another source, which I thought was really cool. So yeah, that's one that I'm going to be looking to use in future projects for sure.
And it's all set up. It's all point and click. There's no coding behind it. So admin, it's a perfect one for an admin to
Absolutely.
use.
Yeah, very, very powerful. You need to know some things like API field names. So when you're, for example, configuring the columns you want to display, you need to know the API name of the columns that you want to use. But yeah, all of that kind of information is easily available. So yeah, no coding. It's pretty powerful and perfect for an admin.
Ooh. One to check out.
For sure.
Do you have any more? I hope you do.
Let's jump back to you.
All right. So actually, this is the last one I've got. So this is called signature capture, and this isn't from Salesforce Labs. It's actually from BrightGen, which is another Salesforce partner based over in the UK. But this app allows you to capture signatures on a tablet or mobile device or browser. It's free, so it plugs straight into it as a component, and you can use that. So again, there's great solutions like DocuSign and what's the one from Conga? I always forget the name of what it is. They're all great, but this is pitching to someone that doesn't have maybe a budget to do it, but needs to capture signatures along the way. So, and it can be used against any object and supports any supports attachments or files. So yeah, good one to check out.
So use case there, Peter, would be where you might add that to a page, and then you're out in the field with a tablet device of some sorts, and you can capture a signature of someone you're with.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. And depending what it is, it could be, again, it can be on any object. So it's not restricted to that side of things. So it literally just gives you the pane to sign in, and off you go.
And for a lot of use cases, that's all you need, right? Yeah, there's other more expensive tools out there, and particularly those that require legal backup and particular workflow around contracts and signatures, and that's where the EchoSigns, Conga Signs, DocuSigns of the world all have a role to play. But there's other use cases where we just want to capture a scribble to kind of acknowledge that someone's read a document or otherwise.
Yeah. So it's a good point. This doesn't play into that space because there is a whole heap of other functionality in those other products. This plays into it is a simple signature capture app. So it's got a place out there for someone that's in the field that just needs to capture signatures on certain things as they go. So.
Excellent.
It's free again. All free.
Very good. I've finished with one question, Peter. What Appexchange app do you think you've used the most in your Salesforce career?
Ooh. Okay, so the one I've used the most would be Charge It, actually, which is a gateway app. And it's a really, really good app. Plugs into credit cards. I think they've got a plug into Easy Debit over here now. And if you need to process payments inside Salesforce or via your website and go directly into Salesforce, that was always the one that I have used, and it's a really strong app around that. I think it even plugs into billing and things like that now. So they've done some good work on it. So, what about yourself? What's the one that you would? What's your go-to?
it's I guess the one that we've seen repeated across probably the broadest number of customers would be Conga, and doing document creation. Also use draw loop in that space, but Conga has it's got that right blend of ease of use and power to come up with some pretty good looking output. We've managed to push it to its absolute limits in terms of what it's capable of. But then I've seen some sort of annual report type documents that we've been able to produce that once you get a designer helping to build the template, it's pretty slick and cool what you can build. And we've even had some where we pull in dynamic mapping data and the like to present information around agriculture and the like, and environmental stuff. So it's it's been a good product we've used for a number of years, and I think we took it to the next level. I think I did my first implementation of Conga Conductor back in about 2013 or 14. And so then you're getting away from click a button, produce a single PDF, to now actually I've got a use case where I need to produce statement data of PDF, turn that into a PDF. And so actually creating a repeatable job that click a button and suddenly 100 PDFs get created. And so then that automation side of it really started to show value, and turn what was an incredibly manual mail merge process that's painful and error prone into something that literally click a button and a few minutes later it's done and it's capable of emailing the PDF out to all the right people as part of the process. So that was a bit of an eye-opener the first time I got that working. And the product, and I guess Conga as a brand, has expanded so much since then as well in terms of their offering and what more they're capable of. And I mentioned Conga Sign before, but they've got a few different apps under their umbrella now, and now they're part of the Aptus family as well. So there's a lot going on in the world of Conga.
But, you can also merge out to other things other than PDF, can't you? There's Word, Excel, PowerPoint, I think.
Google Docs as well.
Google Docs as well. There you go. So, which, to me, it's another way of getting reports out of Salesforce as well. Potentially, it's if I have a report that I wanted to distribute around, you could use that to get it into an Excel format and punch it out that way. It doesn't have to be a static document. So.
Yeah, Excel's a great one because of you can have the extracted data going into particular cells, but then your Excel template can have all the power of Excel and formulas and charts and all the rest of it, to actually do some heavy lifting to take that data and kind of process it to present something quite powerful at the other end of it. And then you can still turn that Excel into a PDF if you need to. So you've got a lot of flexibility and power in what you do with Conga on that front. And I think they've done a good job of keeping their pricing at a good level, that it's not too much of a barrier when you kind of show a customer the power of it and okay, well, this is worth investing in over for the advantages it gives over a standard report or over some custom coding to produce something. It's a powerful solution at a I think a reasonable price that has meant they've had pretty widespread adoption.
That's a good point. I mean, the way I've always looked at what we do in Salesforce, how we do it in Salesforce is, we go clicks first, apps second, and then code, at the end of that. And you try and minimize that code as much as you possibly can, because really through the first two things, I mean, unless you've got integrations and that type of stuff, which we do a lot of that. But if you're looking from a functionality perspective, there's a lot of stuff, as we've said, on the Appexchange that gives you a lot of that functionality without actually having to write the code now. So it's a good thing.
It is indeed. So we're going to publish a blog post after this, and we'll outline all of the apps that we've talked about today and provide links and screenshots of those apps so people can follow up and go and explore them for themselves. We also welcome any feedback. If anyone's got their own favourite apps that perhaps we could talk about the people's choice of apps in the future, feel free to get in touch and let us know your favourite apps. Because we're always there's so many things on the Appexchange now, you can't keep up with all of them, and recommendations from someone else who's used an app goes a long way.
True.
Excellent. So we'll just finish up. We'll wrap it up there. I'm sure people got to read the slide on the screen while that was going on. We always keen to take on new members into the SFD Security Academy. We're having a lot of fun there, working with admins and helping them get the most out of the platform. And anyone who's keen to check it out can jump on the website and learn a bit more. And from there, you can reach out and ask for any information you might need or further clarification about what the offer is. So for this week, we'll wrap it up there, Peter, and we'll get back into our routine for next week so that we don't have any technical hitches.
Sounds good.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone.
Goodbye.